The sun beat down on the dusty training camp in Kaduna as recruits gathered for the first day of military drills. Among the sea of uniforms, Tonia, a sharp, confident woman in her early 30s, stood tall. Her short, neat hair peeked under her cap, and her focused eyes spoke of strength. Not far from her, Francis, athletic, dark-skinned, and calm, couldn't help but glance at her during the morning address. She caught his gaze once and gave a quick, respectful nod. That moment planted a seed. As the weeks went by, they became inseparable. They trained together, ran side by side, and even helped each other during weapon practice. Their bond was clear to everyone. While others laughed, struggled, or complained, Tonia and Francis pushed each other to be better. Colleagues whispered and some grew jealous, but the two ignored the noise. Every shared smile, every brief touch, built something deeper. It wasn't just attraction. It was loyalty, trust, and something neither of them could explain. By the end of training, it was no secret. Francis and Tonia were more than just officers. They had fallen for each other. After their training ended, both received their deployment letters. Tonia was posted to Benin City, while Francis was sent to Lagos. They knew military life came with separation, but their hearts still ached at the thought of being apart. They promised each other to stay strong, to stay faithful, and to keep in touch. Even if they couldn't be together every day, they would make every visit count. So, once every month, one of them would travel for a one-week visit. Sometimes Tonia would take a night bus to Lagos. Sometimes Francis would sneak time off to visit Benin. Their reunions were filled with laughter, hugs, and silent moments where their eyes said more than words. Other officers admired their commitment, some with envy, others with doubt. But Francis and Tonia believed in what they had. The distance didn't weaken their love. It tested and strengthened it. Then came the unexpected news. Francis was being enlisted for a battlefield mission in the Northeast. The deployment was sudden, and in the rush of preparation, he couldn't make time to visit Tonia. She only found out through a friend, and her heart sank. She stared at her phone for hours, waiting for a message, a call, something. But nothing came. From that day, Tonia lived in worry. She stared at the map, imagining where he could be. Each night, she pressed his photo to her chest, whispering prayers for his safety. She remembered his promises, his warm voice, his laugh. She clung to hope like a lifeline. And even though she was a soldier herself, facing danger daily, it never felt as terrifying as the thought of losing Francis. As weeks turned to months, Tonia began to feel the weight of loneliness. Some of her male colleagues, seeing her alone, tried to approach her, but she rejected them kindly. This made a few of them bitter. Whispers started spreading. "She's wasting her beauty waiting for a ghost," they said. Tonia ignored them, but each night, their words echoed in her mind. She cried silently, refusing to let anyone see her pain. Her only comfort was a picture of Francis tucked in her diary. She would talk to it sometimes, pretending he was there. Her roommate, a kind and understanding friend, stood by her side. But even with support, the emptiness grew. She never stopped believing he was alive, but the silence hurt more than she could explain. 2 years passed. No letters, no calls, no sign of Francis. News of dead soldiers reached the camp often. Tonia's heart would pound with fear every time she heard a name. One afternoon, she overheard some officers talking about returnees from the battlefield. Her heart jumped. Maybe Francis was one of them. She rushed to the list and scanned every name with trembling hands. But he wasn't there. Her knees weakened, and tears rolled down her cheeks. "I've lost him," she cried, breaking down in front of everyone. Her friend caught her before she hit the ground. The camp grew silent. Even the mocking voices had nothing to say. Her pain was too real. Tonia stopped attending social events. She buried herself in work, staying at the camp longer than needed. Her phone, once full of shared pictures and messages from Francis, now sat silent. She couldn't delete anything. It was all she had left. She ate less, smiled less, and spoke only when necessary. Yet, in her quiet moments, she still believed. She looked at the stars at night, remembering how Francis once told her, "No matter where I am, just look up. We're under the same sky." She repeated that line to herself daily. Everyone around her moved on, but her heart remained frozen in time, waiting. One rainy evening, news broke that more soldiers were returning. It was unexpected, and the whole camp buzzed with excitement. Tonia stayed in her room, scared to hope again, but her friend insisted they go check the list together. Heart pounding, she scanned the names again. And again, Francis was missing. She walked away slowly, her face wet from tears and rain. "He's not coming back," she whispered. Her friend hugged her tightly, not knowing what else to say. That night, Tonia didn't eat. She stayed awake, watching the photo of Francis in her hand. "I'll wait one more year," she said to herself. "If he doesn't come, I'll let him go." Exactly 1 year later, on a quiet night, Tonia sat by the window holding Francis's picture. The moonlight shone through the curtains as she whispered to the photo, "I know you're still out there. I believe it." A soft voice behind her replied, "Yes, I'm still here." She froze, slowly turning. She saw a figure in the shadow. It was Francis, older, thinner, with a scar on his left arm, but alive. She gasped and dropped the picture. Tears flooded her eyes as she ran into his arms. For minutes, they just held each other, not saying a word. He was real. He had come back. Francis explained everything. He had been held in a remote location after his team was ambushed for years. He survived with the help of locals and later escaped with another group of soldiers. He had tried to send letters, but none got through. Tonia listened, crying and laughing at the same time. She touched the scar on his arm and kissed it gently. "You came back to me," she whispered. Francis nodded. "I told you nothing can break us." They spent hours talking, holding hands like they used to in training camp. Their love had survived war, silence, and time. Now, it was stronger than ever. Weeks later, Francis and Tonia decided to have a simple civil wedding. No big party, no flashy event, just close friends, a few family members, and their fellow officers. The hall was filled with joy as the two exchanged vows. Tears ran down many faces, even the ones who once doubted their love. Tonia looked into Francis's eyes and smiled. "You are my forever," she said. Francis squeezed her hands and replied, "And you're my home." After all they had endured, happiness had finally come. Their love was a story of strength, loyalty, and faith. And now, they would face life together side by side, forever.